Hello my lovelies, for today's video we are going to be doing the next video in my Hogwarts series, and obviously as you can probably tell, this one is Slytherin. Now the official colors of the house are green and silver, but I chose to go with a kind of darker color scheme, which of course is green and black. Now for this look, because the edges are so sharp on it, I decided to do some scotch tape before I began my work. And this is just to give that kind of winged edge, I guess, a really crisp line. And I did do my best to make sure they were as even as possible, because I felt like it would be pretty obvious with this look if they were even just a little bit off. Now, once I got those on, I went ahead and went in with some black gel liner. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Lacquer liner. Of course in Blackest black, and I'm just going to create the wing shape there and then kind of flick it across the crease kind of there, I guess, if that makes sense, just to create an V shape. Now for this look, I don't want to put any color above the crease, so that line is going to be kind of our very top line, our border. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in that outer corner with some of the black, keeping it focused on the very outer edge and then kind of blending it out as we get towards the middle of the eye here. And then what I'm doing here is just adding a little bit of a wing to the edge, just so it's not kind of square, it's more of a winged look. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my Jaclyn Morphe palette, and I'm going to use the black and the dark green shade that I showed you, starting with the black and a dense shadow brush and just packing that on the very outer edge where we put that black gel liner. And then just kind of doing the same method, keeping it more not centered, keeping it more focused towards the outer V and blending it inwards. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use the same brush, just switch over to the other side and use that dark green shade. And I'm just going to pat that more towards the center of the eye, kind of as a transition between the black and the green shade that I'm going to be using. Okay, now for my green shade, I'm going to be using this kind of dark green V shape, and this is a little Maybelline eye palette. It's actually in the shade of Forest Fury. This is pretty old, but it is the best green I had for the look I wanted to use. I originally tried to blend it out with a fluffy brush, but that didn't give me very much forecolor or even blending. So I ended up just going in with my finger and packing that pigment on the lid. Now once I had most of the pigment on there, I went ahead and just took my fluffy brush to kind of blend them together more. More than anything, I feel like it just took the pigment off. But we're going to go ahead and add more green later. For right now, I'm going to try and fill in the center, or the very inner corner portion of my eye. Unfortunately, this brush didn't do too much for really kind of carving out the shape, so I ended up switching to a more precise brush here. Still didn't give me too much color payoff, but it kind of helped me define that line on the lid more. Now, like I mentioned, we're going back in with our finger and just adding a little bit more pigment to the lid. I really want to keep that green shade more vibrant. And then after this, I'm going to go ahead and go back in with that black and just deepen up that outer corner again. Now we're going to peel off our tape here, and you can see we have a nice crisp line there on the edges. And then our next step is to, of course, make our crease line more sharp. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off any fallout or kind of extra green that made it down onto the lower lash line. I want to keep all the color just on the lid for this look. Now once that's off, we're going to go in with the Tarte Shape Tape and a little mini concealer brush. And we're just going to start carving out that top line. You can see I'm very excited to do this. It's easier towards the outer corner where you already have that crisp black line to go off of. Once you get in towards the green, it's a little bit harder. You can kind of see as I do it that I'll wipe my brush off, just because it is picking up some of the green shadow, and I want to spread that around as much as I don't want to spread that around as much as I can avoid it. And I'm just going to carve that all the way into that very inner corner. And as you can see, I kind of create the shape that I want with the concealer, and then once I have that kind of cut out, I start to blend it out. And eventually you'll finish your eye and you'll have one done, and then we're going to move on to the other one. And I will spare you guys of having to watch me do a whole nother one, and we'll skip ahead a little. So here I am just touching up the green in a few spots where my concealer went a little bit over, and just deepening up any places that got faded a little bit. Now we are going to go ahead and move on to the face. I realized I had some green shadow on and hopefully didn't get any on my face, but just in case, I'm going to go back with that makeup wipe and just clean everything off one more time. Now jumping onto the face, we are going to go ahead and prime first with the Too Faced Hangover RX Primer, and then go on top of that with the Touch in Soul No Poreblem Primer, just to fill in my pores a little bit more. Now we're going to go in with the Fenty Beauty Pro Filtr Foundation. I'm just going to dot that all over my face here, and then blend it out with my Real Techniques sponge. Alright, with the foundation done, we're going to go ahead and do some concealer. I'm going in with a mix of the Wet n Wild Come Correct Concealer and the Tarte Shape Tape from earlier, just because my Shape Tape is a little bit too fair for me, and the mixture seems to do a pretty good job here. Going to go ahead and mix some and then just put that in the under eye area. I used this brush to kind of help me get the concealer exactly where it needed to go, since we do have a few precise areas in that inner corner and outer corner. And then I took this adorable little sponge here. I'm not sure the exact name, I'll put it down in the description. This is just one that I got in my Ipsy box. It's a little bit too small for foundation, but I love it for blending out concealer because it's so small and you can be a little more precise with it. Alright, with that all blended out, we're going to go ahead and set the face. I am using the Coty Airspun powder, and first I'm going to go in with a little bit of a tapered, smaller fluffy brush and just set down that under eye area, try and hold the concealer in place as much as possible. So we're just going to lightly set that before we go in with a bigger fluffy brush and just set the whole face. Now I need to add a little bit of shape and color back into my face, but I don't want anything too extreme. I'm going to take a little bit of a more fluffy brush and the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and I'm just going to use that on my cheekbones, and then I will go up onto my my forehead and my temples. And then add just a little bit on my nose to add some color to the center of my face as well. Adding just a little bit to my jawline to help hide my extra chin. And then for my nose, I did end up using a smaller brush just to make it a little more precise. Now with this, I noticed it gave me a little bit of a more harsh line than I wanted, so I just went in with my powder brush at first, and that didn't really seem to get it. So we went in with the Real Techniques buffing brush after that, just to get that line nice and blended out. And just to be safe, I blended out the rest of it as well. Now we're going to jump into the brows. I'll save you the pain of watching them, but I did use the Anastasia Brow Wiz pencil. And then for this, I am just using this little Cella eye pencil, kind of a concealer pencil for underneath your eyebrows, just to get them really crisp and clean. So putting that on and then blending it out with a little brush here. Once again, just going back and touching up that green from doing my under eye concealer. And now we're going to finish off the eyes here. Going to start by curling my lashes, and then I will be applying a coat of the Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara. I am going to be putting on some false lashes today, so I'm not going to go too overboard with the mascara. Just kind of a nice base layer there. Now these are the lashes I'm going to be using today. They are just a little cheap 3 set I got from Shein. Applying them with the Kiss Lash Glue. Now they're on. They're not the best, but they're on, which makes me happy enough. And then we're going to go ahead and leave the bottom lash line blank and just add some of that Better Than Sex mascara on there. Try to be as careful as possible, just to not get the mascara on the skin underneath your eyelashes. If you get a little, obviously it's not a big deal, but I wanted to keep that lower lash line pretty bare. Alright, now we're going to go in with this Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush, and this is in the shade Party. It's just kind of a nice kind of neutral blush, natural color for me. I wanted to add a little bit of color to the face, but not too much here. Just blending it on the apples of the cheeks and then up towards the cheekbones. And of course we have to have a nice glow. And for that I am using the Colourpop Super Shock Cheek in the shade Flexitarian. I'm going to go ahead and do my nose, my cupid's bow, and my cheekbones for this look. Normally I do a little bit on the chin and the kind of up the forehead a little bit. But I didn't want to make this look too glowy, just enough to catch a little attention. Adding that to the inner corner of the eye as well, down a little bit onto the lower lash line, and then blending it up just slightly into the green on the lid as well. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and try and finish up this look. For this lip color, I am going in with the Colourpop Luxe lipstick in the shade Boy. It did end up being just a little bit too pale for my preference. I think it looked cool. It just wasn't quite what I imagined for the look. So that's what it looks like, but I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off here. Next shade I went in with is a L'Oreal gloss. I think it's a Color Riche gloss. I'm not 100% sure. I'll leave that in the description below, but it is in the shade 502 Plum Adagio. And I do really love this lip gloss, but it is something that I think you would probably want to use either a lip liner or a lipstick underneath, just because it doesn't get the most clean edges by itself. Again, really pretty look, but it's just not quite what I was going for, so we're going to move back on. And for our final lip color, we're going to go in with the L'Oreal Infallible Lip Paint. This is in the shade 314 Spicy Blush. And I feel like this is a little bit more of what I was looking for, kind of a nice nude since we have a lot going on the eyes. But close enough to my lip color that it just looks pretty natural and just a little glossy on there. Okay guys, this is going to be the final look here. I am super happy with how it turned out. I really hope you guys are enjoying this series. If there's a specific house you want to see next, or even just another video, let me know. Be sure to like and subscribe before you leave, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!